Today I am out here on the Gorse Drive in Miami Beach, and I cannot even begin to describe, guys, how beautiful of a day it is out here. I have to say, the hurricane brought right behind it some of the most beautiful weather that I've seen since last winter. It's that beautiful out here. It's like 79 degrees, humidity is only like 60% right now, and compared to like the 105 and 95 degree days that I've been out here walking, this is just superb. I wish every single day could be this beautiful. Now you guys can see why I'm looking forward to winter, because pretty much most days are like that here in the winter time, and I just love winter in Miami. So it's going to be a beautiful walk today. Skies are blue, and the weather really couldn't be more perfect. Now, speaking of Hurricane Ian, let's talk about the massive amount of insurance consequences that are going to come from this, guys. I know a lot of you have been asking me about this. A couple of you have even wrote me emails asking, what could be the consequences of this, especially when it comes to people who might have had a house under contract in the Fort Myers area or Cape Coral, somewhere in that area. So we're going to spend a lot of time on this video talking about those type of situations and what's going on right now. So at the moment, it is estimated that Hurricane Ian caused roughly $258 billion with a B dollars in damages, guys. And that's just an estimate right now. And they're saying it could easily be one of the most expensive hurricanes in Florida's history. Now, first of all, one of the reasons why it would be one of the most expensive hurricanes in Florida's history is because of two things. First of all, it costs way more now to rebuild or repair anything because the cost of labor is up, the cost of supplies is up. We've had these supply chain shortages now since COVID, and obviously now you're going to have a ton of people who need all kinds of repairs and homes to be rebuilt and things like this that are needed to happen all at once. And when, just like with anything else we've been talking about, when the demand is high and the supply is low, the price goes up. So the cost for these repairs is going to be astronomical just from the supply and labor standpoint, first of all. The second reason why it could be one of the most costliest storms is because now there are more homes than ever that need repair. There are more people that moved to Florida over the past few years than pretty much any other state. And on top of that, Southwest Florida is one of the regions that got the most influx of population. In fact, Fort Myers was one of the areas in Florida that saw the most appreciation in home prices over the past couple of years. We're talking in the neighborhood of about 40% increase in prices from 2020 to 2022. So that's how much things have gone up over there. And same thing with the Cape Coral area and this entire region of Florida that got hit the hardest with this storm. So when you couple these things together, these two factors alone are what's going to make this storm cost more than pretty much any other storm in Florida's history. Now, just from the Citizens Insurance Company alone, which is the insurance company of last resort here in Florida, they're estimating about 225,000 claims coming in from this storm, and it'll be about a $3.8 billion in losses. And if you guys remember my video from just a few days ago, this is practically the worst case scenario for a company like Citizens. This is going to deplete all of their reserve funds to pay for the damages from this. And just like we talked about in that video, if they run out of money and they don't have enough to pay for the existing claims from this storm, well, then what's going to happen? They are going to make assessments on all insurance policies in Florida. So in the state of Florida right now, if you have any kind of insurance, it doesn't matter if it's homeowners insurance, it doesn't matter if it's renters insurance, it doesn't matter if it's car insurance, whatever it is, they are estimating that because of this hurricane, by next year, we could see increases in our insurance premiums here up to 40%. So 40% is crazy, guys. That is a massive amount. So you're paying $1,000 a year, now it's $1,400. So, and imagine how well that scales when you're already paying a lot. If you're already paying $5,000 a year in insurance. So it adds up quite a bit. So Florida is quickly becoming one of the most expensive states to live in the nation, if you ask me. And the crazy thing is, when I first moved here back in 2008, even Miami Beach here where I live, used to be relatively affordable for what it was, you know, living right on the beach like this and, you know, having everything walking distance. I mean, my first place that I rented on my own, I was paying $900 a month for a 1-bedroom, 1.5 bath with a balcony, parking, and partial ocean view. So just to show you how much times have changed. Now if you want something like that, it'd be over $2,000 a month, so more than double. Now I want to thank one of my longtime viewers, Carl, for bringing this to my attention to include in today's video, and that is, you know, what's going to happen to all these people that either recently bought a home or were in the process of buying a home or something like that. You're in the middle of a real estate transaction, this major hurricane hits, now what? Or what if you just bought your home, literally you closed a few days before the storm hit, then what? You know, what kind of consequences are people going to see from this? And I think it's an important thing to discuss because it's something a lot of people don't think about when they buy real estate, and because these events are so rare, it's not like this is very common. Now the first thing that happens when they give us basically a tropical storm watch anywhere in Florida, they stop writing insurance policies. So you can't get insurance on a home if you're looking to close on a property whenever one of these storms are on the way. So that's the first thing. Pretty much you're out of luck. So if you were supposed to close, let's see, Ian hit on Wednesday. If you were supposed to close anytime earlier in the week, you wouldn't have been able to. Your closing date would get pushed ahead. Your closing date would get pushed, and there is a clause in our Florida real estate contracts for this. It's called force majeure. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but basically what it is, it's a clause that allows closings to be pushed back with no consequences to the buyer or the seller when there are one of these acts of God. You know, it could be a major hurricane like this, it could be a fire, an earthquake, whatever, and these type of things allow the closing to be pushed back without consequences to anyone. The buyer's not going to lose their deposit because they didn't close on time. You know, the seller is not going to be sued, things like that. But also, besides not being able to get insurance, the other issue that this brings up is when people are in this situation. Let's say you're the buyer and you were going to buy a house in Fort Myers and you heard about this storm and you're getting close to the end. You're supposed to close, you know, this week. Well, now you can say, I'm not gonna close on this house because now the circumstances have changed with this major hurricane barreling towards you, and now the seller could end up getting stuck with the house that they were supposed to sell, but the storm basically ruined that for them. And the opposite is true if you're a buyer that, say, you bought last week or just, you know, last month, whatever, in this area, and you just got the house. Now you're already looking at maybe a total loss situation, or if it's not that, at least major insurance claims down the road for you. And, you know, you're going to have to deal with this on the property you just bought. And this is part of the reality of buying real estate in vulnerable areas like this. And it's not just Florida, guys. I mean, look at South Carolina now. They're getting what's left of Hurricane Ian. I think it was a Category 1 striking down there today. So yeah, is it as bad as when it hit Florida? No, but I'm sure they're going to see a lot of damage from it as well. So it's not just Florida. All the coastal states, pretty much all up and down the East Coast, have the potential to get hit from these storms. Even I remember in 2012, there was a strong one that hit New York City, flooded out the subways and all that, if you guys remember. That was a while ago. And you know, people don't think in New York I'm gonna get hit with hurricanes, right? But it happens. And the crazy thing is, let's say you wanted to close on the house. Sometimes if you're getting a mortgage, your lender might not even allow you to close on the house when one of these storms are coming, because the lenders are usually taking the biggest risk because you're only putting a small percentage down, but they're giving you the money to buy the rest of the house. So if they feel like it's too risky, they're not going to close on the home until all this is over with. And I think that's probably a good thing, because it can actually protect you in the long run as well if the home you're buying is in a danger zone, and it might help you dodge a bullet. So, you know, it might suck. It might sound like, oh my God, I made it all this way and I did the inspection, I did everything with the contract, I did everything I need to do to buy this house, and now the bank will let me close. Well, they could end up, you know, saving you a major headache by doing that, just by waiting another week or so and see what happens. Maybe your house wasn't damaged, you can close on it. Maybe it got destroyed, and you know, you're lucky that you didn't end up buying this house that's not even there anymore, essentially. So these are just some of the scenarios that can play out if you were looking to buy a home in Southwest Florida, for example, over the past couple months. So if you guys had an experience with this, or you did recently buy there and you were affected by this, put your story in the comments so people can read it. I think it's super valuable for everybody to read the comments on these videos, because people share their experiences and stories, and we can all learn from it, guys. And that's what we're trying to do here. We're all just trying to get smarter, learn about what's going on out there, and it helps everyone to know what happens to other people and maybe how to prevent it from happening to you. And another interesting nugget I want to share with you guys is, last night I was just thinking about this whole thing, and I put up a poll on my channel, and I asked you guys, does seeing the destruction from Hurricane Ian here in Florida maybe change your mind about moving here? And I had three options. I had yes, no, and wish I never moved here, but you already moved here and it's too late, right? So 47% of you said yes, 48% said no, and only 4% said I wish I never moved here. So it seems like buyer's remorse in Florida, people moving here, is pretty low, which is good to hear. But interestingly enough, still, just by 1 percentage point, guys, 48% of you said you would still move to Florida regardless of seeing the damage from this storm. And the reason I bring this up is because one of the things I've been getting asked the most is, you know, what is this storm going to do to real estate prices in Florida now? And if we look back at the last couple of storms that hit, it didn't really do much. Temporarily, it might have an impact on the area that got immediately destroyed. But at the same time, guys, remember, real estate is a game of supply and demand. So this storm just wiped out a ton of inventory in Southwest Florida that they normally would have, that now either needs to be rebuilt, redeveloped, repaired, whatever. And we're talking probably existing homes for sale too. Imagine if there were, you know, 500 listings on the market in Fort Myers, which is just a guess, a made up number. Now maybe there's only 100, or maybe there's only 200. So that makes prices go even higher. But then you have to weigh out, are people afraid to buy in this area now? And according to this poll, it seems like the majority of you, by a small margin, would still move here, even maybe to an area like Fort Myers. And it really doesn't matter where you move, because anywhere in Florida could get hit with a major hurricane, just like they got there. And it doesn't really matter where you live here. So this could happen to anyone, anywhere, living on anywhere in the coast, basically. Now, some of you are also asking, like, what happens to the claims process now for people that do need to file an insurance claim and got hit by this storm? Well, I'm going to go over a brief outline with you guys of what this situation looks like and how it might play out. So first of all, you're allowed to make a claim from one of these hurricanes for up to 3 years after it happens. Why you would wait that long, I have no idea, but that's what the law says. And the next thing is, basically, you call your insurance company, you make the claim, and once you have made the claim with your insurance company, now they have 90 days to pay a valid, uncontested claim. So if the adjuster comes out there and everything looks good and doesn't seem like there's any fraud going on, they have 90 days to give you a check for repairs. And after the adjuster comes out and looks at the property, they will assign the claim to what they call a desk adjuster, and the desk adjuster will review what portions of the claim are covered under the policy. And I have a good chart and infographic for you guys to take a look at here. I'll link it in the description below for anybody who wants to really review this process. That's where this information is coming from. So when your claim is determined to be valid and legitimate, a legitimate covered loss, the homeowner's provided payment minus the hurricane deductible, and the claim is closed, okay? Then you must hire a licensed Florida contractor to make the repairs. And you can actually reopen a claim if there is additional damages found out later on that weren't initially discovered. So you can always go back to your insurance company and reopen the claim if something like this were to happen. But now you could be in a situation where there is just too much demand for contract work and there's not enough people. We've already had shortages of construction workers and contractors in general during this building cycle that we went through during the crazy housing market boom. And now, because these people are going to be in such high demand in this area, it could take 6 months to get somebody out to your house to even begin repairs, let alone the cost is going to be higher, just like the supply and demand problem with the actual materials needed to make the repairs. So this could end up being a very lengthy process, guys. And that's best case scenario. That's if everything goes perfect with the insurance company and they don't give you any grief about your claim, because if they do and they don't agree with the amount of damage that you should be covered for, or you think that you should be covered for X, Y, and Z, and they said, no, you're only covered for A, B, and C. And if that happens, well, now you're gonna have no choice but to sue the insurance company, and that's gonna make things take even longer. So it's definitely not a great situation to be in. Even if your insurance company covers all of the damages you're entitled to, it's still extremely stressful. It can take a long time. You could be looking at a year or longer to rebuild your house or make repairs, given that the whole process of this situation can take. Imagine 90 days just to get the claim paid, best case scenario, all right? And then maybe 6 months to a year for contractors to get out there and perform the work, and that's providing they can get the materials that you need for rebuilding your house or the repairs that you need done. So to me, this whole thing that's going on right now is going to make building a new home even more expensive than it already has been. So this is definitely going to hurt the housing market when it comes to people wanting to build a new home. It's just going to be more expensive, guys, than it was before. So that's bad news for the housing market. And to make matters worse, the interest rates this week for the 30-year fixed rate loan just went up again, guys. My prediction for this is completely coming true. The new 30-year fixed rate this week is 6.7%. Just last week it was 6.29. So it's already up, hovering near 7%. And that is for the most well-qualified borrowers. Those are for the people that have 820 credit score, no debt, amazing income, a high down payment. So if you're someone that has a 700 credit score and you have some debt, you have some credit card debt, you have a car payment, and maybe your down payment is just okay, guess what, guys? You're looking at about a 7.5% interest rate right now. And what was my prediction? 7 to 8% by the end of the year. And this is still September. So maybe it'll be even higher by then. So my guess could get actually exceeded with the way these interest rate hikes are going. And I think overall, this is a good thing, because these interest rate hikes are doing exactly what they were designed to do. They are designed to pull people out of the market and discourage people from buying homes. And I know it sucks if you have to buy a home right now, but this is exactly the reason of why you should be second guessing whether you should be buying right now if you're going to be financing anyhow. If you're paying cash, it's always another story, gives you more leverage, can probably get a better deal with the seller. But anyone right now who needs to finance a loan is just going to get crushed by these mortgage interest rates, and they're designed to discourage you from buying. That's exactly what this is supposed to do, and it's working, because we just talked about a few days ago how pending sales are down over 20%, guys, in just 1 year. So this trend is going to continue for people that need to get a mortgage, because anyone who's out there trying to get a mortgage at these rates and high home prices is just a fool right now. Even if you need to buy, it's just a horrible, horrible time, guys. It's probably one of the worst times in history to be buying a house, given that this is basically the perfect scenario for you to lose your shirt on your home purchase, because inevitably this is going to push home prices down. Even with the increased cost of construction that's probably going to be felt because of this storm, you're still going to see home prices go down. That's my prediction, because people end up just needing to list for one reason or another. People need to move. There's always divorces. Go watch my video, guys. I gave like 20 different reasons why people would need to sell right now. You know, people get divorced. People have job transfers. There are deaths in the family. There are a million things that happen in people's lives that force real estate listings to come to market every single day. And I don't think that's going to stop because of high interest rates. I want to offer a tip to anybody who might be in one of these circumstances in the future when it comes to closing on a home in a hurricane-prone area, so basically anywhere in Florida or somewhere up and down the east coast of the United States. If that's you and you plan on buying a property one day and there is a storm on the horizon, the best thing you can do, if you're like stuck in the middle of the transaction and you think you're basically for sure you want to go through with this, you need to make sure that you get your insurance policy bound ahead of time, okay? You want to do this as soon as you possibly can in the transaction, as early in the transaction as possible, because if this is the situation like we talked about earlier and a storm starts coming, they're not going to write a policy for you when the storm starts getting within a few days of landfall. So it could already be too late for you. And if it's a purchase you know for sure you want to go forward with, or you don't think is going to be affected by the storm, then you could just be out of luck and be forced to wait because of the storm, especially if you're getting financing. This doesn't affect cash buyers, by the way, so if you are buying cash, then there's no legal requirement for you to have insurance on the property prior to closing. So that's only something that the bank requires if you're getting a loan. I think this is going to be an excellent opportunity to evaluate if being self-insured, meaning you're not going to have a homeowner's insurance policy, is viable for you, because I don't know exactly how much it's going to cost these people to do all of the work, but I would imagine most people are going to be looking at least $200,000 or $300,000 in repairs, maybe even more if it's a total loss type of situation. So do you have that kind of money on hand to do the repair? And not even just the money, guys. Look at the cost of labor and the cost of materials to get all this done. That's probably going to be one of the biggest challenges that people are going to be facing with so many claims coming in all at once. So as we get more information on this, of course I'll be sharing it with you guys and giving you guys the best updates that I can, as always. If you guys enjoyed this video and you found it entertaining, please subscribe to the channel. Check out my next video on the screen right over here, and I'll catch you over in the next one.